Stand by to fall in, Polk County. This is today's veteran. Hello and welcome, and on behalf of everyone at the Polk County Office of Veteran Services, thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Tim Kirkhart, and on this installment of today's Veteran, we talk Remembering Heroes Then and Now with Ronnie Payne Sr. But we start off today's show with a look at the Florida Veterans Foundation. The Florida Veterans Foundation team is one of the hardest working veteran advocate teams in the state of Florida. They are composed of a volunteer chairman and board of directors. The majority of the foundation directors are retired military disabled veterans who donate over 40 hours per week of their time to assist and help guide Florida's veterans through a myriad of issues veterans face today. Here is Mike Mason from the Florida Veterans Foundation.
Well, the Florida Veterans Foundation is really the strongest asset we've got to help veterans in the state of Florida. The good thing about it is we can give up to about $1,200 at this point in time, but it's for veterans. It's in emergency situations, and if they can qualify, like I said, they got access to us online on floridaveteransfoundation.org. You can find the application right there. If they qualify for this, and check the eligibility, but we're there to help them with rent payments, utilities, things of that nature. Something that, if not for some problem that came to mind that prevented them from making their house payment or utility bill or something like that, we can step right in and help them with that. What makes it quick and easy is you've got to fill out all the documentation, bring in all the documentation, fill out the application correctly, in detail, and anything else, add something to explain the situation or whatever. The more information, the better off we are, and the faster we can make a decision on it. Well, I've had veterans in our community that have sent requests in to Major Haynes, actually was the chairman at that time, and got assistance within 24 hours. They actually overnighted a check to this lady to help her out of a serious situation. So there's been other instances where we've had to call back and forth, ask for documentation, extra paperwork, and things like that. That's the only thing that takes a little time. And that stretches our time out. We want to help the veterans as fast as we can, as best as we can. But, a lot of times if we don't get all the information quickly, then that's the only thing that prevents us from following through and getting that 24-hour or 48-hour return. So that's one of the main things we've got. There's a lot of organizations within the counties that'll help to a certain effect, maybe some housing, maybe some utility stuff, but there's a gap. A lot of times, like you go to a lot of organizations, you may have to wait till they have their monthly meeting, or it could be 2 or 3 weeks off before you can get an answer. That's not the way the foundation works. The foundation, the good thing about that is the ability to react, and because we have a very small staff, like I said, over 95% of all donations goes to veterans. So we've got a small staff, and it's not very highly paid, but they're very passionate about what they do. And they're all veterans. They jump in and they help out wherever they can. Of course, Molly's the wife of a veteran, so I guess that counts too. But yeah, it's just a great organization. Their heart's in the right place. The only problem is it was never funded. So one of the big issues is we've got to, we don't just help veterans, we try to get the funding to help veterans. So we've got like a dual purpose there. And that's, it takes a lot of work. And these district directors are all volunteers. So they do it on their own time. Some of them are still working, some of them are retired. But I think the really good thing that has advanced the foundation is that we've got a great working relationship with the Florida Department of Veteran Affairs, of which we're under, and also the County Veteran Service Officer Association. These guys are where the rubber meets the road. They're out there, they're on the front line, they talk to veterans every day, they assist veterans with their VA claims, they walk them through the process, they help them with their paperwork, and help them get their benefits. So having that relationship with these guys and helping veterans is just fantastic. I think Florida is probably the most veteran-friendly state because of what we all work together. Last year, I think it was last calendar year, we assisted veterans in 39 of the 67 counties. Well, that's great, but there's 20 some other counties that still need, I'm sure we got veterans in those other 27 counties that need assistance. So we're going to try to expand and get with the other 27 counties, make sure they're aware of us and make sure that we're there for them also. And they need to take advantage of what we can do for them and how we can help them.
For more information on the Florida Veterans Foundation, you can check them out on the web at floridaveteransfoundation.org or give them a call at 850-488-4181. Flight of Honor Polk, Florida is a program of the Polk County Veterans Council created to take war veterans to Washington, D.C. with all flights originating in Polk County. Here's a look at the sights and sounds of their most recent trip, mission number 3. Welcome back to today's Veteran. I'm your host, Tim Kirkhart. Memorial Day honors men and women who died while serving in the U.S. military. Many Americans observe Memorial Day by visiting cemeteries or memorials, holding family gatherings, and participating in parades. One such memorial is Remembering Heroes Then and Now, that honors the memory of 3 individuals who paid the ultimate sacrifice and died during the Viet Nam and Afghanistan wars. Joining us in studio today is Ronnie Payne Sr. Welcome to today's Veteran.
Thank you, Tim. I appreciate it.
Good. We're here to talk about several things. We'd always like to start with a little bit about you and maybe your military background and how you got to where you are.
I graduated from boot camp July 21st, 1980 in the Marine Corps. My MOS was 3531 Motor T. I was stationed at Camp Lejeune. I was at 29 Palms, and then I finished it out with the 6th Motor T Battalion, a reserve unit in Orlando. And it was a fabulous time in my life. But I passed that on to my child, Ron Jr. He was a career Marine. He was a 0311, served with 2nd Light Armored Reconnaissance Battalion, Iraq in 03. Then he was in Afghanistan in 04 when he was killed in action on the night of May 7th, 2004. Earned the Bronze Star the night he was killed. He saved the life of Staff Sergeant Jason Thompson, a wounded Marine. And out of that tragedy was the hurt of my wife and I. We started a ministry at our church, and we went to the pastor, Ed Buford, who had been a missionary to the military, and we said, Brother Buford, we want to start something to help in the healing of the families who had suffered the same tragedy as us. He said, Ron, whatever you want. So we started this ministry 13 years ago. We had 14 people at the church on the day before Memorial Day. It's called a Memorial Day weekend service. And they came from all parts of America, some as far away as Connecticut and Rhode Island and California. And we honored not only the service and sacrifice of their children, but their families also. And my wife, she quilted quilts for them. And we gave them the book Heaven by Randy Alcorn and several other gifts. And our church just held them up in prayer. And it was a tremendous time to watch God take hold of their broken hearts. And it let them know that their children were just much more than a name or a number. They were the absolute best that America could bring to bear against the enemy. And they walked away from that service. They could function. It was the start of their healing, and Aileen and I saw that it was something that, you know, it was just tremendous. And each year we kept honoring individuals, and over the past 13 years we've honored 57 families from all across America who lost their sons and daughters in the War on Terror. 2 years ago, we started something a little different. We honored the World War II veterans. We had 3 families there that lost their brothers in World War II. Last year, we honored the Korean War veterans. We had 2 families who had lost their relatives in the Korean War. One was First Lieutenant Baldemiro Lopez from the Tampa area, who earned the Congressional Medal of Honor. And this year, we're honoring the Viet Nam veterans. Growing up in my family, there were 2 generations that were around. One was the greatest generation, and the other one was what I call my favorite generation. And I had uncles and cousins that served in Vietnam, and they just readily talked with me about their service. And to me, they were just an amazing bunch of men. And the way that our country treated them when they came home, it was just so heartbreaking. And this service this year, we want as many Vietnam veterans as we can get there. It's really geared toward them. And we always honor one from the current war. to let people know that young men and women are still serving, fighting, and dying over there. And that is First Lieutenant Dimitri Del Castillo. He was a West Point graduate and was serving in Afghanistan as a platoon commander and was shot and killed by a sniper. His family lives in Tampa. They're going to be at the service. The two Vietnam veterans that were KIA was Sergeant Eddie Lee Nails from Lakeland. He served in the Army 25th Infantry Division, was killed in 1970 in Cambodia. And he was actually killed by friendly fire. But you know, we need to honor all these young men that gave their last breath and their life's blood for each and every one of us. The other individual that we're honoring is Private Harold Hugart. He was a young Marine that had just, it was 1966, he had just gotten off the ship, and he was killed the next day by a sniper. And his younger brother, Bruce Hugart, and his family are going to be at the service. And it's just going to be tremendous. Our guest speaker this year is Colonel Al Cartwright. He was a career soldier in the Army. In Vietnam, he flew choppers, and he actually flew Green Berets in and out of LZs. And he has a tremendous story that he tells of his time and his faith in Vietnam. It's an extremely moving story, and I think it's one that I wish every young person in America could hear. The gentleman that's doing the final roll call is First Sergeant Charles Rubidoux. He was a career soldier, and he served as a crew chief on choppers in Vietnam. And as with my son, he instilled the character attributes of the military in his boys. And his oldest son, Steve, was a Army captain, and his youngest boy, Charlie Rubidoux, was a second lieutenant serving with the 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment, I believe it was, in Talafar, Iraq in 2005, and he was killed by a sniper. So that's something that's very near and dear to his heart, too, and he's going to perform the final roll call. We try to make this authentic as possible. On the memorial, we're going to have an M16, a helmet that was worn in Vietnam in 1967, the jungle boots that were actually in Vietnam, and the folded flag. And we have another memorial set up for Del Castillo. And it's an extremely moving service.
How do you pick the individuals to honor? I mean, how do you come up with the families and the names?
Usually, we try to have at least 20 pictures of each individual because we prepare videos to moving music. Some of it's extremely patriotic, and we also have to have a one-page letter, double-spaced, from the family of what their loved one meant to them and what America meant to them, and some of these letters are really moving. Lance Corporal Holly Charette was the first female Marine to be killed in Iraq. They lived in Rhode Island, and her parents flew down for the service in 2005, and they stayed with us. And I remember the night before the service, the mother was sitting in our bathroom with my wife, and she would start to write on a piece of paper. She'd get one line out and fold it up and throw it, and she'd just start crying. And when we did the final roll call the next day, she was just weeping, and it was extremely moving. But some of these, their children have only been gone for a year or two, and it's extremely fresh and real and raw to them. And when our boy was killed, I couldn't remember what I did at work. I'd come home and I would sit in the dark. I wouldn't even turn the TV on, or lights, or anything. I'd just sit there. And I knew how bad I was doing, and Aileen and I agreed that we needed to reach out to the others. We've had a lot of different organizations come on board. We'll have several different ROTC groups there. Sergeant Major Doyle Brady, he always brings a group from Lake Region High School. First Sergeant Wooten of Mulberry High School, that was where our son went to high school, and he participated in ROTC. And Top Wooten is a great guy. He was one of my son's mentors, and he's always had a group there. The Veterans United Motorcycle Association, they attend every year. The Patriot Guard is there with their flag line. It's just, we have several dignitaries there. We've had politicians, city commissioners. Colonel Don Salvage, retired Marine Colonel, he's there every year. Colonel Gary Clark, retired Air Force Colonel, President of the Polk Veterans Council, he's there every year. And
Ronnie, tell us about this, the dates for this year.
It is the day before Memorial Day every year. This year it's May 28th. It's at Calvary Baptist Church here in Lakeland, 1945 North Florida Avenue. If you Google Calvary Baptist Church Lakeland, it'll tell you how to get there. We're up where, if you're going north on 98, where 98 and North Florida split, the church is right there. And it's at a Baptist church, and don't let that scare you off. I promise you, we're not going to take your name and phone number and bug you 8 times a week about coming to church. We just want people there to honor the fallen, and it's a tremendous service. When we started 13 years ago, we had 400 on the grounds, and our high attendance has been 825, I believe. And it grows by leaps and bounds every year, and we're expecting a capacity crowd this year. Okay. I've spoken with the Viet Nam Veterans Association of America. Dan Pinson, the president of the local chapter, I got to speak with them 2 weekends ago, and I pass out a lot of flyers, these little postcard flyers. You'll see them in a lot of the businesses, restaurants. We've really built this thing over the past 13 years, and it's incredible, really is.
We're happy to have you on the show. We're out of time, but I want to thank you for being here and
thank you. I appreciate
message
it.
out to our military families.
Absolutely.
Make sure you check out Remembering Heroes Then and Now on Sunday, May 28th at 1045 at the Calvary Baptist Church. If you need more information, you can give them a call at 863-683-6781 or check them out on the web at calvaryonline.com. That's going to do it for this edition of Today's Veteran. I want to thank our guests today, Mike Mason and Ronnie Payne Sr. But most of all, I want to thank you for joining us. Remember, for help and information regarding claims, benefits, and services available to veterans and their families, call the Polk County Veterans Service Office at 863-534-5220 or log on to the Polk County website at polk-county.net. I'm your host, Tim Kirkhart, and we will see you next month.
Hello, I'm Carlos Gonzalez, a Veteran Service Officer with Polk County Veterans Services Office. I'd like to talk with you today with a topic that seems to breed some confusion for veterans and the general public alike, and that is the topic of flag etiquette, display and rendering the proper respect to our nation's colors. Let's start off with how a flag can be displayed. When the flag of the United States is displayed from a staff projecting horizontally or at an angle from the windowsill, balcony, or front of a building, the union of the flag should be placed at the peak of the staff unless the flag is at half staff. When the flag is displayed in a manner other than by being flown from a staff, it should be displayed flat, whether indoors or out. When displayed either horizontally or vertically against the wall, the union should be uppermost and to the flag's own right, that is, to the observer's left. When displayed from a staff in a church or public auditorium, on or off a podium, the flag of the United States of America should hold the position of superior prominence in advance of the audience and in the position of honor at the speaker's right as he faces the audience. Any other flag so displayed should be placed to the left of the speaker and to the right of the audience. When a flag is displayed in a window where it is viewed from the street, place the union at the head and over the left shoulder. When displaying the flag in mourning, you should place the flag at half staff, hoist it to the peak for an instant, and lower it to a position halfway between the top and bottom of the staff. The flag is to be raised again to the peak for a moment before it is lowered. On Memorial Day, the flag is displayed at half staff until noon and at full staff from noon to sunset. It is the universal custom to display the flag only from sunrise to sunset on buildings and on stationary flagstaffs in the open. However, when a patriotic effect is desired, the flag may be displayed 24 hours a day if properly illuminated during the hours of darkness. Proper illumination is defined as a light specifically placed to illuminate the flag or having a light source sufficient to illuminate the flag so it is recognizable as such by the casual observer. When the flag is displayed on a car, the staff shall be fixed firmly to the chassis or clamped to the right fender. When a flag has served its useful purpose, it should be destroyed, and preferably by burning. For individual citizens, this should be done discreetly so that the act of destruction is not perceived as a protest or desecration. Many American Legion posts conduct disposal of unserviceable flag ceremonies on June 14th, which is Flag Day. Such ceremonies are particularly dignified and solemn occasions for the retirement of unserviceable flags. Now, let's talk about what we should do when the colors are presented. For those currently serving on active duty, they know that they are to stand, face the colors, and render the proper hand salute when in uniform. However, for those who are veterans or civilians, the responses seem to be varied. The National Defense Authorization Act of 2008 contained an amendment to allow ununiformed service members, military retirees, and veterans to render a hand salute during the hoisting, lowering, or passing of the U.S. flag. A later amendment, included in the Defense Authorization Act of 2009 and signed by President Bush, further authorized hand salutes during the national anthem by veterans and out-of-uniform military personnel. So, if you are a uniformed or ununiformed member of the armed forces or a veteran, you can and you should render the hand salute during the hoisting, lowering, or passing of the U.S. flag. A civilian should stand at attention, remove any headgear, and place their right hand over the left part of their chest if able. So there you have it. Regardless of which category you fall into, rendering the proper courtesy to our nation's flag is an honor that can be easily done without confusion. Should you have any questions about the guidelines for display of the flag, go to the United States Veterans Affairs website at www.va.gov for more information. Now, on behalf of Polk County Veterans Services, I want to thank you for showing patriotism and paying respect to the flag of our country.